guys, welcome back. It's Elise from Raising Tiny Saints Homeschool. Today we are going to be talking about the curriculum that I'm going to be using with my oldest, who is in 7th grade. So we're going to just kind of be talking about the plan that I have for his school for the year, but also just kind of some tips and tricks that I have learned along the way teaching him for the last 7 years, because he is by far my least conventional in his learning style. So he's the one that I've had to educate myself the most on, just thinking outside of the box in how I teach him, because he and I learn very differently. So that means that my teaching style is different from the way that he would learn, because I'm going to naturally teach the way that I would naturally learn, but he needs something different. So it's taken a little bit of time and patience with both of us to kind of find our groove, but I think we're hitting our sweet spot now after 7 years. There's hope. But anyway, so first let's get to his curriculum. So again, I use mostly Catholic Heritage Curricula. That is my base. He may be all Catholic Heritage Curricula this year, now that I look at it. The only one of my kids that I'm not really deviating from that from. So yeah, first the way that I plan out his work. So he works mostly independently, which means I need to write out his schedule so that he can be responsible for finishing what he needs to do. So I just grab a simple, easy planner from Amazon. This year, this is the one that I went with. It's a middle school, high school planner, and I like it because it's super simple in the setup of it. It has this cute little bookmark that you can move around throughout the year. It has places that I write each subject, and then I'll fill in. Once a week, I'll go and fill out a week's worth of assignments. So I'll just do his assignments for the day. And then it is up to him to keep on top of this and check it off as he goes. So I will include a link for this, but it's just a cheap planner that I got off of Amazon. The one subject that he is not doing that is, or the one subject that he's doing that is not CHC, that is not Catholic Heritage, is his math. He's doing Teaching Textbooks, which is an online platform, and it works really well with the way that his brain kind of functions with math. Plus it takes it off of my plate because there's a lecture that's included in it, and then the review questions and everything. It's a one-stop shop. Everything is online. And yeah, he loves it. It's great. It works for both of us. It's a yearly subscription. So that is his math. Okay, so his language, we do Catholic Heritage Curricula's program, Language of God. It's a hefty book this year. Usually it's not this thick. When I got it, I was like, oh, he's getting serious. But it just goes over the language basics. You get reviewing capitalization, what gets a capital letter, all the mechanics of what you need to write, pre-essay writing stages, how to write an effective paragraph, quotation marks, italics, apostrophes, hyphens, all of that. It just goes over all of it. It's a one-stop shop. He does 1 or 2 pages a day. Super simple and it's concise, and it doesn't take a lot of time. So I love that. And then, so for his religion, we are doing the Growing in Grace and Wisdom program through CHC, which is, again, it just has a little story, and then it follows up the story with a little activity that he does. So this is something that he does completely by himself. It's totally independent, which is great for me. But, yeah, it tells stories of the saints, or just, good character quality stories. So he does this all by himself. This is another CHC book. It's a series. I think there's 3, maybe 4 of them. This is the second one. And we don't do this super faithfully. I want to be more faithful about it. But again, this is just Lives of the Saints. It just goes through, Lives of the Saints, and tells their story, and it has review questions. So the stories are a little bit long. So my oldest doesn't like to read. He struggles to read as fast as his brain moves. So what that looks like for him, and this is one of the tricks that I have discovered, is I had to let go of the concept, or the preconceived idea that he had to read everything for himself or he wasn't doing it. a very wise counselor told me that for kiddos like him, his brain is moving a whole lot faster than he can read. And that leads to frustration, and it leads to him not wanting to do the work. Whereas if I sit with him and I read to him, he absorbs it and he asks questions, and his brain is just, it's moving so fast that it's almost like it's frustrating for him to slow down and read. Whereas if he's being read to, so for him, either me reading to him, which I do with some of his subjects. With my other kids that are of reading age, I give it to them and let them go because they actually don't do as well being read to. They need to read it themselves in order to process it. But for him, he needs to be read to. So I will read him more of his work than with my other reading kids. And then do like review questions orally, because then it creates conversation, and he loves it. He thrives on that. So, anyway, with this kind of stuff, a lot of the times it is an oral, me reading it to him. He also loves audiobooks. Audiobooks are great for him, which is just so funny because to this day, like, I struggle with audiobooks. I lose my concentration, and yeah, like it isn't how I learn, but for him, it's perfect. He loves it. So again, that's like, you have to know your kid. You have to, don't just look at the frustrations that you feel in trying to teach them in the way that you would learn, but look at what their needs are and where their strengths are, and then play to those strengths. So for him, like, he's super smart and he asks really, really good questions, but he gets bogged down by the reading. So if I create these opportunities, and we live in a world now where like so many things can be, you know, that verbal communication, I don't feel like it's hindering him because he can read. He wants to be able to dialogue about what it is that he's taking in. So that's just one tip for you. Other religion things that I'm going to be going through this year / over the next couple of years, like confirmation prep. These I got both of these from CHC, and they just look like really good. Like this, I believe, goes over the Apostles' Creed in living the Apostles' Creed. So applying it to your daily life, growing in the virtues of Jesus. He is all about growing in virtues. So this, I'm thinking, is going to be a great resource for him to kind of dive a little bit more into like what the virtues are, what the process is in growing in the virtues. It has questions for review. It has just personal stories. So yeah, like this is a good middle school, high school resource, I think. Okay, so then for science, we're again doing CHC, Behold and See. Now this is one that up until the second half of last year, so the second half of his 6th grade year, I was reading this to him. And about halfway through the year last year, I thought, you know, you could push yourself a little bit. And I just took that, I don't know, it was a little bit of a risk, but I said, you can handle reading this. And so last year he started doing that. Now I still will do the review questions orally with him because I want to double check and make sure that he read it and he retained it. But yeah, so science, he reads this himself, and then we have review questions that we go over together. Easy. History. We're doing a new history program this year that I haven't gotten into yet, so I can't give my review of it, but we are doing The Story of Civilization from Tan Publishing, and it is told in a living story format, so I'm hopeful that this is going to be more engaging than your traditional textbook, which I'll be honest, I don't retain. I would much rather know about the people of history than just the history. So this program looks like it's going to be really good. There's a workbook with review questions, and then there's there's DVDs with lectures for each chapter as well. So that I think will be a little bit more engaging, and I'm excited to dive into that. So that's history. Literature, I've done another video on this one, but we are doing this as a family. This is a unit study for us. So reading aloud these classic works of literature. And then this program comes with review questions, and it has vocabulary words, and just like, it's a whole one-stop shop for all things literature, and it's amazing. Go check out my other video. I love this program, 100% recommend. Geography, we're just doing CHC's map skills. He doesn't love this. but it's just kind of a good overview. It gives you a good overview of like what you find in a map, what it means, the different kinds of maps, ways to use maps. It's a good overview. He doesn't love it. It's nothing special, but it's a good geography. So no complaints from me. Spelling, CHC is spelling. Again, I love their spelling. I really do. Like doing it with my kindergartner all the way up through my 7th grader. Like I love to see the difference in the levels of it, how they grow it. It's just really well done. And so he is doing, like, he's got all his cursive words, so he has to write it. He has to be able to read in cursive. And yeah, like, so, you know, there's just like, okay, all of these examples, which one of your list words means what, and write them all in. And then, so we will do 1 page on Monday, 1 page on Tuesday. Wednesday, we write the list words, so he has to write them out on a notebook. And then either Thursday or Friday, we do a quiz where he can either orally or written down. I will read him the word and he reiterate it back to me to make sure that he knows how to spell it. And then we move on. It's super simple. And yeah, like the only other thing is every kid has just a basic 3 subject notebook. And in this notebook, he can do his, you know, math equations. He can write out as he's working out his math problems. This is where he writes his spelling words. And then it also has a place for any extra things that we are doing, like language or yeah, whatever else extra. Would go in this notebook. So each kid has one of these. We will go through 1 to 1.5 notebooks per kid each year. But yeah, so the only other thing, so just some of the things that I've learned working with him, he is very sensory sensitive and yeah, like the reading stuff we've talked about, but he's very intelligent and he asks really, really deep questions. So I've had to kind of dig outside of my normal, like, how would I do things to really like encourage him to grow and to foster that in him. So one of the things that we started doing over the summer is for anyone who grew up in my generation, you remember Wishbone, right? Like it's the shows with the little dog, and he, like, you have the real life stories of Wishbone and his owner and his owner's friends, and then he goes and he does like literature stories, classic literature. So they're all on YouTube now. So I've been having him go and watch an episode of Wishbone and then write down at least 3 questions that he comes up with while watching it's usually historical. So watching the history part of it, 3 questions, just whatever questions you want to come up with. And then we'll talk about them. So for a lot of them, it is like, if you remember, Wishbone always starts the story with like, this book was written in the year blah blah blah. So a lot of his questions have been like, what was happening in that year? And then we'll go and look it up. And like some of them, he's come back and he's like, oh, that's the year that Lincoln was elected. That's cool. And like some of them have been really intense, like when did they stop using the guillotine to execute people and things like that. So there's like moral questions, and then there's historical questions and everything. And it's just been a really great opportunity for him to do something that he enjoys, because he likes watching TV and he likes all of that stuff. But then to create that opportunity for discussion and talking about it, it's been really cool. It's been a lot of fun. And I had forgotten that Wishbone does like stories of the saints. Like they have Joan of Arc in there. It's so cool. I love it. The old school stuff is just the best. So yeah, that, and then, anytime I sense him like really fighting back and not enjoying what he's doing, I've discovered that if I sit and work with him instead of just giving it to him and sending him off, that quality like investment of time seems to really like bolster him and gets him back up and moving, and then he perks up and he's ready to keep going. So yeah, you gotta be a student of your kid. Like learn what they need, and do your best to teach them in a way that works for you, but that works for them as well. So yeah, that's my 7th grade curriculum for my son. I hope it was helpful and informative. If you have any more questions, feel free to leave a comment. If you know somebody with a middle schooler that could benefit from all of this information, feel free to share this video with them. And I pray that you have a great rest of your week. God bless.